Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 8:31. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the town of New Canaan, Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. Actually, Steve had a good suggestion before we start. Let's take a moment of silence for a real legend in our town. Don Herson passed away last week, and let's just take a moment to remember a great volunteer, a great citizen. So. Thank you all. Okay. This is a hybrid meeting. First matter on our agendas are minutes for our last meeting on August 15th. Any comments or corrections of the minutes?
None.
None here.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public comments. I don't see any members of the public here. But anybody on?
No one on.
Anyway, members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the board on agenda topics scheduled for review and or vote. Comments may be submitted electronically by sending them to BOS distribution at mccanacT.gov. We'll review them before the end of the meeting. So we have Steve Carl and Tom Butterworth here to present on the Affordable Housing Committee. Good morning.
So we're sharing this one, Tom.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having us. Tom and I are here this morning to just bring everybody up to speed on the Affordable Housing Committee and sort of do the official handoff between Town Council and the Board of Selectmen. As you know, we've written a draft ordinance for the formation of the Affordable Housing Committee. And I was looking back in the press and in our minutes, and it's actually, this started back in January, believe it or not. And we're finally, you can hear the wheels of government grinding as we go through this, but we're finally here. We're excited. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom just to give you a quick review of how we got here, how the committee was formed, and maybe just talk about the formation of the committee and why we selected the membership. So, Tom.
So it's a pleasure to be here to witness the launch of the Affordable Housing Committee following ordinance passed by Town Council in February. The ordinance reflects the hard works of the Bylaws and Ordinances Committee members Christina Ross, Maria Naughton, Rita Bettino, Mark Jimsky, Kimberly Norton, and especially my co-chair Hillary Ormond. I just thought I'd explain the impetus behind the ordinance with a quick story. I was approached last year by a neighbor who had just heard of the proposed development, Weed and Elm. He'd heard that state law might prevent our planning and zoning commission from modifying or restricting such developments. I told him about the moratorium concept, but said it may not come cheap. And he said, just tell me what it would take. And that's a fair characterization of the main thrust of the new ordinance. It doesn't require the town to take any particular action in connection with 830G. It doesn't limit the committee to dealing only with 830G issues, but it sets up a new committee primarily to answer two questions. What would it take to expand affordable housing in New Canaan? And what would it take to retain local control using the 830G moratorium process? It's exciting to see a group of talented and educated town residents have agreed to take on that risk. I'd be happy to take any questions. Steve mentioned the makeup of the committee. There was some discussion as to how big the committee should be. And I think the sentiment of the members of the Bylaws and Ordinance Committee was, let's get a lot of talent on it. So it stands at 5 at-large members in addition to 1 from each of Planning and Zoning, Housing Authority, Town Council, and Board of Finance.
Yeah, and the reason we set it up that way was to try to give this committee a lot of bandwidth and the ability to draw from all of those major committees we have in town. And, you know, by putting 1 member of P&Z on, 1 member of the Housing Authority, Town Council, Board of Finance, it allows better communication throughout the whole town and the way things work. So we're hopeful that those members will, you know, serve on this committee and then report back to their respective organizations in town and get a better flow of communication. So that was the thought behind it. And I sent around the actual ordinance itself, the mission of the committee, it shall work with the Housing Authority in the town of New Canaan and other bodies to increase the number of affordable housing units in New Canaan. And, I just wanted to mention the fact that our history has been pretty solid in terms of affordable housing, and the fact that our town does welcome affordable housing. We're looking for affordable housing. We've always done that. It's been decades and decades of great, projects we've had. And obviously Scott Hobbs deserves a lot of credit and the Housing Authority, but this is basically putting the stamp in the ground saying we need to continue to do that. We need to continue the work we've done. And, I think everybody in town can agree that we want affordable housing, but we also want to know where it's going to be and what it's going to look like. So that's the impetus of this, the committee. So happy to take questions or talk about anything on your mind.
First of all, thank you to both of you and to the town council for getting this off the ground. And we're very excited. Thank you for passing this on. I'll just say that having this, I think, is the first format that we've had where we have sort of official, if you will, representation from those four bodies. Just a thought, and maybe this is already embedded in how how the ordinance has been drafted. But if any of the people that you're recommending, if they move off their respective boards and so forth, is it just then will become the responsibility of, say, P&Z or Housing Authority then to appoint the next one? Okay, so that'll be the process. I didn't know if
So
that
they're
was
ex
covered.
officio, in fact, they're not.
Well,
they're not permanent members.
If we talked about this a little bit with, for instance, town council is a good example where there's elections that happen every couple of years. You may have somebody that's serving on the council that is either not going to get reelected or chooses not to serve. And
Right.
at that point, the council would have to select another member of the council. To be official on this, you'd have to be appointed
Right.
from that body.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And do those appointments, I mean, those four that are represented on do we approve those as well? Or we accept your recommendations and we don't vote on that? Or how does that work?
I don't think we are trying to reinvent the approval process. So
So
Board of
we'll
Selectmen-
vote for all nine.
so
Yeah,
you'll get it. You'll get a name from planning and zoning, and hopefully you'll pass it along.
Got it. Okay.
You might want to review the political mix
Oh, no, we'll have to do
ratio
that.
in
Yep.
the process.
yeah, none of this supersedes the charter because obviously that's the go-to. So, as far as numbers of folks and majorities and all that, that's, hopefully we'll be able to get through that. And
Great.
I know we have it's a big committee. It's one of the biggest we've had. It's 9. So, but we're really lucky to
I
have.
think that's what we have for the Utilities Commission
Oh, there
too.
you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
right.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
it's
a good number.
it's a
Yeah.
good number, but it's also when you have that many people, it's finding the right people and finding the right mix. Hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that. It's
Why is it 9? What was the theory
It was-
behind that?
a good question, Nick, because I think the reason that we went to 9 was we wanted a broader, a bigger group. And when we start with 4 basic folks that are there already, it only left 5 members of the public. So there's sort of 4 embedded in it already. So we wanted to put 5 in there from the public. And obviously going with an odd number is usually good for votes. And
A year from now, what do you see being done by this new?
that's a good question too. So I would say a year from now, you'd want to see this committee. One of the things that we gave as a recommendation in this, you'll read about public education. So we need to do, I think, a year from now, we need to make sure that these folks are educating the public as far as where we are, all the pending affordable housing developments that may be out there. Hopefully I would view this as a funded committee too. So that's where the Board of Finance is going to have to come in and figure out how much money can we get to the Affordable Housing Committee right off the bat for if they need consultants or whatever. And then
So what are we talking about, Stevie? I mean, we're talking about $1 million, $5 million, 10. I mean, what's the spend?
It's early. It's early yet, Nick. You're putting me on a spot here. I have no idea. I mean, we spend $2 million a year on our roads. So,
But-
this is
money well spent.
Exactly. And to me, this is one of the biggest issues we're facing here in town. So I could see the town spending, putting aside a significant amount of money per year to deal with property acquisition, et cetera. So, and that's
The key thing about the committee is it's kind of up to them to
Right.
sell that, to put together an attractive plan that would resonate with residents. And then say, you know, here's plan A, it would cost X ballpark, X dollars, and it would be on Y piece of property. And, you know, God bless them if they can come up with the answers to those questions in a
So
year.
we're talking about real money because New
Eventually,
Canaan is
not to rob
behind
the-
affordable housing, right? That's the bottom line, right? We're all in agreement that affordable housing is necessary to this town.
That's correct. You know, and I think you guys deserve a lot of credit because you push the idea of getting this done. And, you know, it always takes longer than we think to get stuff like this through committee and through, it has to go through the bylaws and ordinance committee, then be looked at by the town attorneys and then passed on to the town council. And then, you know, through the whole press and couple of weeks of, you know, the process to do this is forever. And I said that earlier. We wish we could move this faster, but here's, you know, we're here today. So
Well, I think it's been a thoughtful process. And again, thank you.
Yep.
Also would mention that whatever recommendation comes out of the Affordable Housing Committee would have to go through the regular process anyway, through the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Town Council, et cetera. So it's not their sole decision about where we will go for whatever affordable housing solutions that we'll be looking at. I will just say that hopefully we'll be able to put this on the agenda in 2 weeks, where we've got if that's okay, Kevin, but we have a number of people, this is like the Utilities Commission, we have a number of people who've expressed interest, and we're really pleased and honored to have that kind of representation of our town, and certainly from the town bodies. It'll be up to the Board of Selectmen to go through their own review process, each of us individually, with those who have expressed interest. And then I would just say administratively, we would get our recommendations to Tucker, and then she'll help collate them, and hopefully we'll have a decision on the 9 members 2 weeks from today. So
that's great, Kathleen. Thank you.
Does
And
that work for you?
that's sort of the timeline that we're hoping for, because we really do need to get this up and running. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not looking for further nominees because
well, whatever, but yeah, I agree. So we've got a great list. So
Yeah, we
work
really
from
do.
that.
We thank the people that have raised their hand. It's amazing. After all these different committees we put together, we still have folks willing to raise their hand and serve. So I'm very excited about that.
Mhm.
I would
Yes,
note
thank
2
you.
things following up on what Kathleen said. So when we appoint the members, we're going to say appointed so long as they're members of that body, because they will automatically then not be continue.
Mhm.
And then secondly, I noticed the at-large members use the term residents when actually you should have used the term electors, because someone cannot simply be a resident. They have to be a voting registered voter. So
Thank
and
you,
we'll,
by the town attorney.
we'll apply it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Tax assessor.
Hi, Seppi.
Morning, Seb. I want to talk to you about farms later.
Huh?
I want to talk to you about farms later.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm here to get approval for a blank purchase order for software services and ground list books and things like that in the amount of 23,400. This is already being approved. This has already been approved in the budget.
Is this an annual fee?
Correct. Yes, it's
Okay.
for Equality, our camera system, and our QDS admin system.
And has it changed at all from the year prior?
It's been going up roughly between 3 to 4% yearly.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
Done here.
I move we approve this request from the assessor to approve a blanket purchase order with QDS for $23,400 for the software services and related materials as described by Seb. Second,
Second here.
for the discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seb.
Kev, because I was a little late, my apologies. I had several proposed agenda items.
Several.
several, maybe three. One would be to, and I note that item number, I think it's 22, appointment with respect to, proposed appointment with respect to the Fields Committee. We've never codified the Fields Committee. I think Tucker's done the research and Tom has helped out with that, Tom Stadler as well. The Fields Committee was never officially convened with respect to the Board of Selectmen. They never voted on it. I think the Board of Selectmen back in the 90s accepted the findings of the committee that looked into, or the commission that looked into the formation of the committee, but they never actually voted on it. So I would add, I would propose that that agenda item be amended to officially support the Fields Committee. And also, I would propose that we augment the number of people on the Fields Committee from 3 to 5, incorporating 2 people from the town, not town employees as presently constituted. So that's my first proposed amendment to the agenda. The second proposed amendment would be to have an executive session with respect to a real estate issue involving the town, obviously. And the third would be to propose that we, as the Board of Selectmen, approve the addition of a new Board of Education candidate, Republican, taking Dan Bennett's spot on the Board of Education, and that would be Matt Campbell. So you want to take those individually, Kath?
Sure.
So let's take the Fields Committee first. Again, my proposal is that we do 2 things. We essentially formalize the Fields Committee, which I don't think was ever done. I think it kind of got lost in space, whatever. And also at the same time augment that to 5 people, the 2 people presently on the committee, Jay Egan, John Howe, and we would be adding Todd to the Fields Committee, and then we would augment that with 2 people to be named from the greater populace of New Canaan. That's my first proposal. I move that.
Perhaps I can make a suggestion. That's a lot to unpack, and perhaps it's worth putting it on the agenda for our next meeting. So we can.
That's
'cause there's
fun, Kath.
a lot of stuff that I perhaps need a little bit more understanding and research. So if I may suggest that.
That's
I don't think it'll change. I think we should I feel we should move forward with the proposal on the agenda currently. I don't think there's any
I
reason.
have no problem with that.
Okay, but then any other consideration in terms of whether it requires a Board of Selectmen approval, the committee itself, and then whether or not we change.
Well,
the-
I do think we need to at some point we need to have
Okay,
the Fields
Yeah.
Committee
let's do it all.
be approved, but we
review.
can do that. We can do that 2 weeks.
Okay, I'm
So
good with
you're
that.
suggesting we proceed with
Proceed with
the-
what we
the
have,
agenda item?
Yeah,
All right, sure.
yeah.
Okay.
and then next, in 2 weeks.
I don't want to be lawyerly, but if we're approving the appointment of someone to a commission that hasn't been approved, or a committee that hasn't been approved, I guess it's okay since we've been
It does exist.
going on as usual. It does exist. It does exist.
So, yeah. So that would be my suggestion.
So my second issue is with respect to a real estate issue. A potential disposition of property. And I would move that we go into executive session to discuss this amongst ourselves.
So, I guess we have to report that we're actually going to go into executive session. And so again, let's put that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now.
That's fine.
Okay, so I think that would have to be announced in advance. So we're going to have a busy session 2 weeks from now.
Mhm.
Okay.
And third, as I described previously, there is
the
a
agenda,
vacancy on
okay.
the, there's a vacancy on the Board of Education. It is, for whatever reason, the Board of Ed itself decided not to fill that slot. I think they had 60, 90 days to do so. They believed, and I think I agree with this logic. They said, we've got a caucus coming up because this was a Republican spot. They said, let's wait, see the results from the caucus. Let's let the top vote getter. That'll be the person that we support to fill this vacancy. That was a guy named Matt Campbell. I think is a terrific candidate, will be a terrific Board of Ed member. And I would, I now move to fill that position with Matt Campbell.
So just ask for clarification. Did you say the Board of Ed voted to say that's how?
The Republican caucus of the Board of Ed,
Okay,
my understanding, Kath, is that they felt they wanted to fill that spot, but they wanted to wait to see the outcome of the caucus because they wanted to see the people's choice, amongst the Republicans, because it's a Republican spot. We all know that. And they did that. Caucus was held. I mean, I would have come up with this earlier, but we, because of the summer and everything, and kind of put things on hold. Matt Campbell was the clear winner of that race, and I think he received more votes than perhaps anybody else in the race. And I think he's a terrific candidate. So I'm moving that.
Is there a second?
No.
Second. Okay, let's get on with our agenda.
Your agenda.
Well,
keep going.
Number 5, Pure Grant for the town meeting audiovisual equipment. Who's presenting them?
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Hi, Tucker.
This is easy.
This is
We
easy.
could just
This
jump
is
to the
easy.
vote.
This is
Are you kidding me?
million acceptance. Yes, yes, yes. This was a competitive grant that we were awarded, and a practice would be to have the Board of Selectmen approve of receiving the money. Done.
All those in
Next
favor?
item.
Well, can I just ask?
Whoa, whoa,
is
whoa,
this
whoa.
our policy? So every time we get a grant, it has to go to the Board of Selectmen? Or it just seems like, should we maybe amend a policy somewhere? That seems like,
This, there's a policy that's being reviewed,
okay,
and there's a policy that does say that that monies received should be approved by the town body.
okay.
So we may be erring with caution.
No, but the concern is that sometimes strings are attached and we don't want to accept
Okay.
a grant unless we
Check.
know exactly what we're.
That's right.
Right.
Okay,
We-
If
we've
there's a
had bad
match
experiences in the past.
required and things like that.
Fair
So
enough.
some of the grants require your approval in order for us to even apply or to authorize the first selectman to apply.
Mhm.
But
Now
this
that we're in the
one,
grant business, seriously, we have to change
We
our
have to
policy,
take
and
these
we'll bring that to
seriously.
the board.
This is our own internal policy, or is it a state mandate or guidance? No,
Internal,
okay,
town.
internal policy, okay.
So I move we approve this request from the grant writer to accept the grant for the audiovisual.
So
equipment
so
from
what
Pure.
else is in the pipeline, Greg? In terms of what you're, putting your hat out.
well, is that, well, there's about $900,000 in pending applications that we have submitted. That I can tell you. So
That's
that's,
great.
that's in the pipeline,
That's great.
and our fingers are crossed.
And how many applications we're talking about, that 900,000?
Let's see, I think I have that. Five
Mhm.
applications constitute that amount of money.
So you're paying for yourself.
Working at it,
And
Nick,
that's-
working at it.
Thank you.
So Kevin made the motion, who seconded?
Second,
Further discussion?
Oh, just one other question. So this is, well, we're gonna get to the next one. So no, that's fine. This is just a one-time grant though, right?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
You don't apply for
Yes,
it
it is.
annually.
To improve meeting audiovisual
Just
communications.
hooray. I mean, we're not gonna be here. forever. It's like,
Finally, you know,
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
still using this
Right.
thing out here.
How soon will that be?
Hopefully by October, yeah.
So we'll have color now on TV.
That's the way it works is, the town needs to have a project that fits the priorities of the
Yeah.
grant program, and Chris and Tucker had this program ready to go. So
Fabulous.
worked out well.
Right. All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Greg. We got another one?
No. I know, it's boring.
Lapham Center?
Lapham Center. Yes, this is, I don't know if John or Aggie's here, but, so the state allocated this 46,000 to, for New Canaan. However, they didn't just disperse it. They demanded that if we wanted the money, we needed to show a program that was COVID responsive and met, again, their priorities before they would agree to disperse the money. So we did that. And again, it's Aggie and John Howe, it's their program. So I do the work, but it's the town's programs that get submitted. And in this case, hours will be extended a little bit at Lapham Community Center because people post-COVID like to go to programs later in the day. And also this program that Aggie and John established and the Parks and Recreation Commission approved would open up some hours on a Saturday, which has not been the case. So it's expanding the hours. Programs will be about health and responsive to COVID and things like that. So, it's good for the town.
And we're hiring more staff with this grant?
Part-time staff, yes. I believe two or three part-time staff
But no,
will be required. Two, if I'm not mistaken.
so we're not
two.
committed to the future if this is, how long does this grant last? It's a one-time grant?
The grant needs to be finished by December of 26.
Define finish,
Pardon me?
define finish. Spent.
The expenditure of the funds that they provide. And then you all can decide whether or not to continue the program, or maybe there'll be some money to continue it. I don't know.
We can spend $50,000 by
Yeah.
2026 pretty
Right.
quickly.
Right.
That's always the challenge with these grants, because, if you use it for a specific program or
Right.
a one-time expenditure, when you apply it to staff. And if you
Right.
want to continue on the program, that's on the
That's
town
true.
to,
That is true.
to respond to,
Something the
it's,
town will have to consider.
yeah.
But that's another reason why we want to decide to accept it.
Correct. Yeah,
Because
no,
committing to something for the future,
yeah,
we don't want to,
right.
Right.
we actually can't
Correct. It's
commit
not
to
a blank
future.
check for the future.
How much of that 46,000 is actually applied to part-time employees? If you know,
I have that in here,
Cheryl, would you
about a
know?
third.
I was gonna say it was about a third.
Yes, about a
Okay.
third.
Okay.
I move we approve this request from the grant writer to accept the grant from for the senior Lapham Center programs as described by Greg.
Second here.
All for discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Greg. Okay. Mr. Kimes. This is confusing, so please.
Well,
It's largely made up of acronyms, so that would be why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a continuation of about a month ago, though, right? When we talked about the radio and how
Yeah,
other towns are doing this. Okay, go ahead.
that's correct. Yeah, this is in a similar vein, different thrust as it were. So this is a request from the Office of Emergency Management to have Kevin be authorized to sign on behalf of the town a agreement with the state of Connecticut DESPP, which is the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, for us to use the Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. This would allow compatible New Canaan first responder radios, for example, in particular fire, but also police and other units, to be able to be programmed with frequencies of our neighboring towns who have gone to the state infrastructure. So to get, there's no obligation for us. We don't have to switch all of our stuff over. This just opens the door and basically plants a flag and puts our place in line, should we so desire. And most importantly, right now, it allows most tactically fire to be able to program the frequencies of our towns that we work with and go to on the regular, Norwalk, Stamford, who are already on the state system. We can't, the way to think of radios nowadays is radios as software, just like software licenses. You have to have a license to be able to connect to the system. And this agreement with the state basically allows us to connect our radios to that to be able to speak with them. It doesn't replace our current public radio system. That stays in place. Although, as we have discussed, I think several times, we're investigating and we're also kind of waiting a little bit to see how it goes. Wilton is the next to go to the system to see how it goes for them and learn some mistakes as well. There's this, to move to it, it's a different, what we call band, which is this, would require us to buy all new hardware in order to use it. So that's a substantial capital. I've also,
What's the spend, Russ?
don't have a number, but I know the Wilton spent in the millions, $4 or $5 million.
Millions.
Yeah, for 3 to 4 million, because they had to replace, if you think about it, at the end of the day, you're talking about replacing on the neighborhood of 300 portable radios, plus 2 consoles, plus every radio in a truck. It's the replacing the radios is the problem. But this agreement, separate from that, just allows us to program our existing equipment that is compatible to be able to talk with our neighboring towns, which right now, we're surrounded at this point by people who've moved to the system because of the fact that it's a shared infrastructure. It has 24/7 monitoring and it's at no cost.
So
provided from
you
the state.
think this is best in class? We're not going there now.
Yeah.
You're talking about millions of dollars that we may or may not spend in the
Yep.
future. But do you guys, you folks think in
Yes.
emerging that that's the best thing we should be doing?
I certainly think so. I think we've got more exploration, in particular to see how Wilton does, just like the conversations that have been going on about cell phones and radio signal propagation. By it being, we're currently on 155 megahertz. This is a high band 800 megahertz that doesn't penetrate trees and hills and things as well. So we'll be very interested to see how it works in Wilton, who has very similar topography and size that we do, to see how it works for them. But the towns that have it are Stamford, Norwalk, Westport, Fairfield, Bridgeport. Wilton has moved to it. So it's quickly becoming what our peers are doing. And it increases capabilities. And I don't want to get too technical on it, but by moving to a digital trunked system, you are able to have many more radio frequencies within your system. So in essence, right now, police has two, our fire has 2. We have one, which is our dispatch, and one which we use just to talk around on fireground. We could have 5 for event operations, whatever. So by being digital, it's a far more capable system. But again, we're still exploring it. Well, honestly, I want to see how this goes with Wilton.
Is there a Russ Kimes in Wilton?
I don't know if there is an emergency.
There's no
management
Russ
director.
Kimes.
No,
Outside
I
New
don't know if
Canaan,
they're quite as
obviously,
much. I don't know if they have a resident antenna head quite as much as me, but
You're going to monitor Wilton in
Yeah.
particular because
correct.
it's kind of a trial horse.
They're the closest in every measure, right? Whether it's the number of radios, the numbers of subscribers, the type of missions that they're doing, the types of calls they respond to, as opposed to a larger city like Norwalk or Stamford. So and the topography. At the end of the day, it's really about the topography and signal propagation. So we're going to see how it goes for them.
I would just encourage you, we all understand the budget process, to put a marker down at some point
Yes.
for the future, because we're always talking about out years and,
Yep.
must have, need to have, want to have. This sounds like it's pretty important.
Yeah, and again, it'll be done in consultation, obviously, with the chiefs of the different departments, in consultation with the regional chiefs to see how their experience and what their lessons learned were, and prioritize it accordingly. But this merely is a no-cost first step for us to reserve our spot in line and allow our firefighters to be able to connect to Norwalk, Stamford, those who are already on the system in Wilton when they go this fall.
So when we have mutual aid right now and they come and help us, we can't
Correct.
talk to them on the radios.
No, we usually, depending on whether they have tri-band radios, which, as you may remember with our budgets, we requested tri-band radios. The same thing, if they have those types of radios, then they can program them. I've been working independently on a project for the last, 5 months to get agreements in place across all 11 Region 1 fire departments and a number of the police departments as well, for us to be able to share each other's radio frequencies. So that's actually something I've been working on, kind of leading it for the region. So The good news is it means that all those other towns coming to us won't have to do any additional negotiations, approvals. They have it, they're set. And I should have mentioned that this agreement has been reviewed by Council. Doug Lamonte looked at it. His only recommendation was put more units in than less in the count of radios, because he reviewed it for Westport, Wilton, and Weston and found it to be fine for all three of them as well.
So we have 500. You list.
That was the number I put in, which is taking the numbers I received from Public Works, Police, Fire, EMS of total radio count, and then adding about 20% to it to just leave wiggle room.
Do you have an estimate of what, if we got 500 new radios, what that would
I
be?
do not. I'll have to, like I said, and again, that is something, it's as with everything, it's a moving marker because inflation, but I do not, and I will let you know. I haven't gotten to the point yet where I want to go to Northeast Communications and a couple others to see if I can get just a ballpark. I don't have it yet.
So my understanding, I think reading this was that certain of our equipment that we currently have could be upgraded.
A small percentage.
Oh,
We have
okay.
we have very few of the tri-bands. In fact, that was why, at least in my budget, I've got every year buying at least 3, maybe 4 to try to
I see.
eat into this a little bit so that we have the compatible equipment.
Okay.
But it's not going to move the needle on a seismic basis because, we're talking about a much bigger number of total units that would need to be replaced.
So the only other thing I also noted in reading this 22-page agreement was there is, and I don't know if can't be our only one, but for state contracts, which this is considered one of, there is a restriction for campaign contributions to state elections. And it says that's affects principles in the contents of this notice. So I just bring this out just because I'm also on a board that's considered a state contract, so I'm limited. Is that who does that apply to in terms of the principles of this notice?
As not an attorney, I don't feel like
Yeah.
it would be
But I just think we
appropriate
should
in
be
saying,
aware of
You're,
that.
you're an officer of the town, so I think you're a principal.
Yeah.
I would think.
I mean,
that it would-
I'm
I think
already
it would
affected by
include
this
the officers.
So
yeah.
I just think people should know that, right? So, and is this our only state contract? We must have others, but
We have other state.
yeah, okay. But it's just to be
And
aware.
there's a bunch of, same thing as.
You can just
see
check
with the-
back with maybe Nick and just say, how does this apply? Is it all principles and who's included in that? Because I think that's important.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon. Like I said, he reviewed this for Westport, Wilton, and Weston, and they found,
In terms of technology, I'm.
no,
just-
our
yeah.
attorney reviewed the legal agreement.
Right,
And
right.
found it to be favorable.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I think it's more informative of those who are quote principals, whether or not we have restrictions on state elections.
I will give Doug a call as soon
thank
as we're
you.
done.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I have no further questions. I move we approve this request from Officer of Emergency Management to approve the execution of a license agreement with the Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection for the use of the state Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network as described by Russ. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Ross.
Okay, let's spend some money.
We haven't already.
Good
Morning, Joe.
Joe.
Anyone want to join? Might as well come on.
Here's your moral support here.
Yes, I have moral support. Come on up. Excellent.
John? It's only $20 million, so.
For now.
Okay, who's leading this?
All right.
Joe? Go ahead.
All right, good morning. So, the Department of Public Works is here today to seek approval of the GMP for the police facility renovation and addition project. And just a little history, in July of 2023, we were released on architectural services, and at the time, what we were calling the town hall option. The design team, under the direction of the Police Department Building Committee, developed the bid documents over the course of the last year. Turner was brought on board in March of 2023 for construction services under a CM
with GMP form of contract. And under that form of contract, Turner was authorized to perform the pre-construction services and their fees were established. So basically what we're going to be asking for today was already kind of vetted in the contract. Turner bid 25 separate bid packages, basically all the trades, and the bid results came in and they're the basis of the GMP. So on August 29th, the Police Department Building Committee voted unanimously to recommend this GMP amendment that was prepared by Turner. The documents have been reviewed by the committee. I'll just, there's Bill Walbert, who's online, who's sick today, Amy Murphy-Carroll, Paul Foley, Jim Beal, Mike Morrow, Penny Rashin, Paul Tully, and an advisor is Stuart Salabini, and Michael Chen is also part of the building committee. So this document has been reviewed by them, the police department, Slam Construction Services, who's Gene, you may or may not know, our owner's rep, Chikunsky Humes Architects, and all their consultants, the Department of Public Works, me, Tiger, and Maria, in a legal review by the town attorney. So this recommendation, the current project total costs are the cost of the GMP, which we're seeking approval for today, which is $20,235,000. The town contingency is currently 1.9 million. The temporary PD costs are 2 million. The soft costs are 4,865,000. So that's where we get the total of 29 million, which has been fully funded by all the boards and the town council. So the last time we presented to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the town council, the budgets were 20 million. Excuse me. 20 million for construction, 5 million for soft costs, 2 and 2 for the temporary PD and construction. So we're right where we've presented. It's the same project. It's just further developed and competitively bid now. So the Department of Public Works and the Police Department Building Committee is requesting that we enter into a contract, which is basically just executing the GMP amendment with Turner Construction Company in the amount of $20,235,000 plus a owner/project contingency of the 1.9 million. Is there any questions? And this is the document. We've sent it over. It's included. It's pretty all inclusive, and it has been reviewed.
Very comprehensive. And thank you to the August group of people who have been involved across all of the different parties. So really appreciate that. A lot of hard work there. So just to clarify, the 29 million all in includes the soft costs, which includes the temporary move over to Locust and then the transfer back, right? That's all.
It includes all the pre-construction services as well.
Right. Okay.
All the architecture.
Okay. So all in 29. And is there any more approvals ahead of us, or this is it?
The next approvals will be for the construction administration portion for Slam and Chikunsky Humes.
And that's part of the 29.
That's part of the 29. That's another portion of the $5 million in soft costs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hallelujah. It's about time. Yeah, we were talking about a new police station when I took office in 2011 with former First Selectman Rob Malazzi. And it's great. We're finally moving forward. Now it's going to cost us a lot more money because we delayed crazily prior to COVID. We were talking about this, and well, whatever. This is great. This is great. So how do I get comfortable with this not being a cluster, you know what, like the Playhouse?
Hey, Nick, I think this is completely different.
Okay.
Okay. This project, to me, seems very much like the Saks Building Committee. Okay. We have professionals along the way who have vetted every single cost ahead of time. We've got,
There's no design and build,
no, it's,
Which is
in
Mickey Mouse.
so this committee was formed, I think, in November of 20. So we've been working on this for a long time, and we brought in the A team to do it. So Slam did a fabulous job for us on the Saks Building Committee. And we have Turner, who just did the library in terms of. and they have-
Fantastic.
And they
right,
have vetted
right.
everything,
right.
okay? And so look at, this is costs go up, right? We did get hit by a big construction cost increase because we got pushed back a year or two trying to decide we're gonna.
2
stay
or
where we
3.
But I think what you have here is how you should do a building. You know, you figure it out, you realize it's gonna cost more money, but people know it ahead of time. And this has been vetted very closely in terms of contingencies, making sure, since this is a renovation, that we're renovating the whole thing. And so it's gonna be basically a new building going forward. So we're not gonna end up having a surprise cost in 10 years or anything like that. So it's been very, very well vetted, and you took the time to do it and really dug down. Joe and group have just done an amazing job.
Is it going to have a bar like the Playhouse?
Not yet.
In the gym, bars, but not what you're used to.
So Amy, you're good with this. You're a cost maven, and appreciate that. So you're comfortable with
Yeah, look,
this going forward.
the reality is things cost money. They just do. And you hate to, but if you were to adjust up what we did for this building, it's very similar in some ways. We had old building renovated, add an addition. Now, police building has a lot of things they have to have. They're not optional. You have to have the security, the safety, the Sally port, the things that cost more money. But that's kind of in line if you inflate it up with what we ended up paying here, if you go 10 years forward, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, John, did we renovate it? Was it 30 something?
80.
So
81.
it's a long time, and buildings have a useful life. I mean, they just do. You got to fix stuff over time, and it's a fundamental thing in the town that you need to have a police station, and you need to have one that's up to code. We have a lot of code issues in the current one. So,
Absolutely.
look, it's a lot
What
of
about the
money to
training
spend for it.
facility? This doesn't incorporate, Paul.
No, this does not include the training facility that we're going to come back to you.
Okay, that's going to be a separate discussion. So it's off the table that the training facility would be at that location, correct?
Training facility will not be at the location of the south.
Okay. Okay.
It wouldn't fit in that location.
Right.
But we will come back to you.
Okay.
And I think it is a priority that we get on this training facility. We have to.
I agree. I think I know it's costly. We don't want to have a bad outcome in town, a bad shooting. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah. Yeah.
And we always.
You've schooled me on this, Paul. I mean, and I
always looked at this as a unit deal, whether we had the training facility behind the current police department or where it's or to locate somewhere else. So, thank you.
I have a few questions. I watched the last meeting, and I'd like to explain the $700,000 of contingency included in Turner's contract for the construction.
Mhm.
So they have their own contingency
Correct.
within the GMP. So it's not really a GMP. I mean, they're going to take that $700,000 regardless of
No,
whether
no,
they use it or
so we will not, that's fully will be documented if they have to use it.
so.
So it's a Turner contingency. It covers under this form of contracts. It's their contingency for their issues.
So
But-
conceivably it could come in less than the 20 million.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's
that's it.
potentially coming down.
Correct.
And then we have an owner's contingency, which is unrelated to construction. So that could be $1.9 million for any of the other soft costs.
Any soft cost and construction. Because we don't have,
Construction. How could that be? If we,
so the Turner construction contingency covers basically any either mistakes that they had within the buying process or it's for their use. So if they need to work overtime, if they need to, additional winter conditions, et cetera. So it's for their use.
So if they hit the 700,000, anything in addition rolls over to our contingency? Is that how it works, or no?
Not necessarily. If you want to take a stab at it.
detailed guidelines about what they can and cannot use that contingency for. So they can't do repairs, defective installation. There are certain things that fall within their rights to use, which
Okay.
is monitored by the committee. And there are things that they're not allowed to do with the money. The GMP, which includes the contingency, is the maximum that they can go. If they spend all their contingency, then the rest comes out of their pocket.
I see. Thank you.
And then we decided to do the roof, which is probably the wise decision because it's a 10-year-old roof, but
Yep.
we don't want any leaks in a
Yep.
brand new building.
Yep.
But that's within the GMP.
That's within the GMP.
It is now, yes.
So it's within the GMP, but it's coming out of our contingency that
Our contingency is a little tighter, slightly tighter.
I thought it's coming out of the 1.9 million. So we've already sort of used part of the
No,
million.
so the 1.9 million is a fully, the fully vetted contingency. The 1.9 it was 2.2.
Yeah.
And we just, and the
Oh,
committee,
we took the contingency.
the
down
committee
to
decided
the
to
1.9
add
to pay for the roof,
add the roof.
but it's
and reduce
within the
contingency.
20 million to. It's within the GMP
20
It-
million.
It's within the GMP.
and that's already been bid by a roof contractor.
Yes.
So of these 25 subs, most of them are committed.
Once we release Turner on the GMP, they can make commitments, but there has been bid reviews. There was
Right.
30 hours of bid reviews
Right.
with all the low bidders to make sure that they had the correct scope and that they would sign all the contracts that were required to get them on board.
So effectively, what's the percentage of our contingency?
Is it 9% all in for the whole?
It's a little, it's
On
a
the
little under
20.
2. A little, I'm a little under, sorry, a little under 2 million or 10%.
Four for construction, 6.5 for owners. So it's about 10%.
Any further questions? I want to thank you all. I mean, we have a great building committee and we put together and I think you did a great job. So thank you. And the chief,
We have a vote.
I move we approve 20,235,000 for the GMP for Turner as an amendment to the existing contract. Which it can plus the owner contingency of 1.9 million as described. So second,
Second here.
for the discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Folks.
Thanks, Bill.
$100,000 truck.
Yeah.
Mechanics, it's an F-350.
F-350.
Yes.
Is it a hybrid?
I'm sorry. No, it is not a hybrid. Yeah,
The reason I asked that is I saw the Ford CEO the other day say that the great thing about 350s, if it's a hybrid, they can power your house. It's an emergency generator.
Oh, my goodness.
right. Until you no longer need the power for your house and then you can't start your car. But yeah,
So yeah.
kind of goes both ways. I saw that.
Well, you have a tank of
Kinda-
gas, which normally, we have for, anyway, interesting.
Forgive me, but this is just naivete on my part. Is the 350 the biggest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So this purchase is for the wastewater treatment facility. It's a replacement of an existing mechanics utility vehicle. We went to Gangris Ford. They're under state contract for a price of $105,869.90. Less the trade-in of the existing vehicle for $6,000 for a total of $99,869.90. The vehicle itself is essential to the wastewater plant since it has a crane and a lift gate on it. So we can actually then take out any pumps that have failed, do any service on the 3 pump stations that we have in the facility and the 3 pump stations around town. So it's a necessary portion or a necessary part of our fleet. And the money right now is available in the capital budget for fiscal 24, and we'd like to go forward with the purchase.
Any questions?
Nope.
I move we approve this request from Public Works to purchase the 2023 F-350 as described by Tiger for the wastewater treatment plant. Second,
Second.
for the discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Morning, Bill.
Morning.
Morning, we're seeking approval to remove the underground oil tank at the wastewater treatment plant. It's at the end of its useful life. And we also have converted to natural gas over there, so we'd like to get that out of the ground. And have ACV, who's done our environmental tank removal work in the past, done good work. So we're seeking approval to contract them to go ahead and remove this. They'll also do all the testing, and they will do the closeout paperwork with the DEEP also. All part of this contract.
They're under state contract, right?
They are under state contract too.
Questions?
So there's no replacement of this because you're on natural gas, so you're just gonna fill it in and that'll be that.
Correct.
Are there any other gas tanks underground or sorry, oil tanks underground for this
Yes.
facility? There are.
Well, enough. Yes, there's another one down there we'll be looking to remove at a later date. And then there's a couple other that. As we're getting
for the
gas,
highway
as gas is taken over, some of the buildings will be looking to get those tanks and other buildings out also. But so far, we're not at a violation over the 30-year mark with any of them. This one's 30 years old this
I
year,
see.
so.
Okay. Is there any, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And there's no leak
Not that
as
we're
far as
aware
we
of,
know,
no.
but you'll test it afterwards. Okay.
Yep.
Were you answering the question about whether there's other ones at the,
There is another one at the wastewater plant for the
Plant.
diesel generator, which we're looking to upgrade that to above ground tank. There's funding available for it. We're just going through the engineering of it now. And that will come to you at a later date for that one.
but that's not, that would be a replacement because we have to keep the diesel generator.
We are, but we're gonna go to an above ground tank there and get rid of the underground stuff.
Oh, I see.
So we
Okay.
try to get all the tanks out of the ground. That's
Right.
our goal.
Right.
That's DEP's
Right.
goal
You'd
too.
rather have them above grounds. Okay.
Yep.
Although those leak too, and I could tell you from experience, so the above ground ones, but good.
Well, that's why I'd like to get it out of 220L, but he wants to keep it in the basement, even though we converted to gas.
Oh, you do as backup?
Well, Frank would like that too. Let's be fair here. Well, it's
But that one did
dual
leak.
fuel burners.
Oh, it
So
leaked. Oh,
It leaked.
oh.
You can still smell the oil.
well, that was the old tank.
A year later.
There are new tanks here now and it's a dual fuel system. So
Mhm,
Frank, the other owner, said he'd like to keep it for at least a year just to
Mhm.
see how we go.
mhm.
Any further questions? I move we approve this request from Public Works to enter into a contract with ACV Enviro for $17,693.47 for the removal and related matters for the 3,000-gallon heating oil tank at the wastewater treatment plant.
Second here.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next item is for the Irwin Pump House Repairs Project. That's the little building when you go up the driveway of Irwin. It's on the left. It's right across from the barn. It's sort of like in the green area there.
Mm.
It's actually the original pump house to the property. It goes down about 20 feet deep, to be honest with you, and all the valves and the water tanks are actually all underground there. The water tanks have been taken out of service probably 15 years ago, I guess, when we actually put a water main up in there. But the all the valves and stuff still go through there, whether it be, it just, it's a distribution building where it sends water to the house, of course, pavilion, the barn, it's irrigation system. There's a flight of stairs that actually go down to the lower level to get to all those valves, and they're in pretty rough shape. They're starting to rot out. So we're looking for approval to go ahead and replace those and do some other minor building repairs as well. Funding's in the budget for this. I did go out, had 4 contractors look at it, and I was able to get one contractor to give me a quote. It's just, I'm having a really hard time getting people to give us quotes. It's just,
Is this because they're very busy or?
there's a lot of work going on out there and there's a
Yeah.
lot less contractors that are doing small work or doing work at all. It seems like we lost a lot of people during COVID who either just backed in their business, retired or whatever. So basically the old timers aren't around no more. It's all these young guys coming in. They all want big work and big money. And
No, I'm confused. So the house is on Aquarian water.
the whole property's on Aquarian water as of now.
So why do we need the well anymore?
Well, because all the valves and the water main comes in there and all the distribution points are down there. So we can shut water off to each location.
So is the well pumping or is it just?
No, there's no pumping going on down there now. It's just a distribution point.
Okay, so it's, okay, necessary.
And it's necessary. If you
Infrastructure.
wanted to try to, it'd be a big project to try to make that well building go away. You would have to
And how much of the property is sprinkled with the whole front yard is sprinkled?
Just around the apple trees on the front lawn.
Oh,
And we haven't.
the Irwins did that before, or did we do that?
And that's it's temporary just until they, to their maturity now. We don't think we'll have to use that again.
So that all the more reason why are we fixing this thing?
Because we need water for the house and the barn and the gorse.
Just to distribute, as distribution.
It's distribution, yeah. All the water comes in there, all the valves are down there. We control the whole property from that building. That's how it's always been. To not do that, we'd have to excavate a lot of the property, do a lot of different valve systems. It would be an engineering.
I don't know if they would allow it, because they have one main coming in. They might want to then at that point in time put a main to each building.
Each building.
Fire service to each building. It might be a little bit, that'd be quite costly at that point in
So
time.
this solves the problem entirely. Was this on our radar screen? Was this is in facilities due to something that had to be done?
It might have been facilities used too, but I just been monitoring building over time because we do go in there enough and, it's just in need of repairs. It's that time.
Antonelli Roofing does water.
What's that? Sorry.
It's a roofing company.
Yeah, there's also the property group, Antonelli, also known as
They're
the
building a
property.
set
Group.
of stairs.
Huh?
They're building a set of stairs.
It's not doing anything with water. It's just got to do with the stairs getting down to the valving and then.
Oh, this is not the replacement of all the valves?
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Set
oh.
stairs in.
Oh.
We get downstairs without falling through the stairs because they're getting real rough.
All the more reason than 19 grand to replace a set of stairs. Cleaning and the cedar roof at the, it includes the roof.
Cause cleaning off all the roof, spot repairs around
Okay,
the roof.
I should have read the memo.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Nope.
I move we approves the request, Public Works to enter into contract with Antonelli Roofing to repair the pump house at Irwin as described by Bill. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is for two different locations, the Parks Garage over on Farm Road and our Vine Cottage right next door here. These are going to be for docking stations for the generators. This will allow us to connect should a generator fail to the big generator. We just purchased the mobile generator so that we can keep these buildings going in during emergencies if the current generators do fail. Northeast Generator is our current preventive maintenance contractor. They've done pretty much all the generators in this town. They're a big company in Lower Fairfield County. So we'd like to contract them to go ahead and put these docking stations in for us and to get the program online.
So just to clarify, so that we have two docking stations, one portable generator though, right? And so if, we ever came to a situation where, we're without power, that both the Vine Cottage and the Parks Garage were without power, who gets priority?
Depends on the event.
Well, these are only two. We approved Town Hall Annex a few weeks ago.
That's a docking station too.
That's a docking
We're gonna have
station.
six or eight docking
Okay.
stations.
We're hoping we'll never have more than one failure, if any.
I see, but I
But
just.
if it was,
curious
if it was
you
a
have
storm
policy
event, a
on-
winter storm event,
Yeah.
Vine Cottage, they might not even be in working.
Right.
It would go to the parks, obviously.
Okay, so you have some.
It'd be
sort
event
of-
driven.
How many more docking stations do we have to do?
You can. We have, we already got money in, to do Lapham, that's already been approved.
Highway?
Highway.
The point is,
can
once
run
we
off
got
a wastewater plant.
the portable generator,
Yeah.
it only works if if you do the docking station at each facility you want to potentially use.
Right.
I just don't know how many
Well,
facilities are you talking about for one?
It should be
move-
noted too, that the Parks Garage and Vine Cottage both have generators. So you
Yeah.
you have to lose power, then lose your generator.
Gotcha.
to get to the third
This is
portion.
backup.
This is the. tertiary
Belts and
Is this,
suspenders.
is this sort of belts and suspenders that is kind of crazy?
For each one. Well, but they're critical facilities. Parks are brought in for everything, just like highway, right? And then Vine Cottage is, if there is a major storm event, they're brought in specifically for that major storm event, depending on what it is, specifically a hurricane, things of that nature.
But we could legitimately debate whether the Town Hall Annex and because those people can move over here if they have to.
They could, but some of
Yeah,
the.
but we're not going to put a docking station on Town Hall, are we? We are.
We're engineering it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is this is real crucial.
At some point, you got.
We're trying,
Belts
listen,
and suspenders, we're gonna.
we're trying to be redundant as possible here
Yeah.
because when we're looking at engineering so that we can actually run the annex behind us off this generator here at Town Hall. And then have the John Town Hall on a docking station so that. should
Well,
there was
especially
problem-
since this is gonna be our EOC during the police department building. Why wouldn't we do the town hall right now and not be doing these other
We're
ones?
getting, we're doing engineering. This is a little involved. This building's a big, huge, 1600 amp service downstairs. There's a lot involved with this, a lot of power and transfer. Yeah, we have 3 transfer switches in this building, not one.
What would be
So-
our plan if we lost the generator here? Since this is our EOC,
Well, if we lost a generator here right now and it looked like it was gonna be a long term, we get the electricians in and I'd have to pull the cabinets apart downstairs and I'd pull the cables all out and we'd hardwire this building to a generator. That would take a few hours to do, but it's doable. And we're trying to not have to get to that because that's a lot involved doing that.
Hmm.
But it can be done. I've done it before.
Hmm.
You know, I did it at the YMCA during Storm Sandy. We pulled all their power apart, their boxes apart, and I hardwired generators in over there to give them and lit up half the building.
Right.
And that took about, I think it was about 5 or 6 hours to do that once we had the generator. So there are ways to do things. We're just trying to simplify it, make it the most safest way possible. So we just plug and play, basically.
One last question on the Vine Cottage, where would the docking station be?
Next to, probably, you don't see it. It'd be where the meter is most likely.
So
Behind the bushes, you won't see. It's not, it's just.
Oh, it's not that big.
It's a small unit, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, it's just like a box about this big that you plug 3 cables in.
Check.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
when are we gonna get the town hall one?
As soon as engineering is done, we'll let you know. We have to get the engineering. It's, they're working on it now. You approved it, I think, last month, and they're working on it.
Before the switch over to 39 Locust for the,
39 Locust is being, October 15th equipment shipping. And they, just to get you up to speed,
actually, the police department could be our EOC if we had to, because that will have a docking station.
that'll have a dock station. And currently tomorrow they're starting the generator install over at the EMS building.
Right.
We're moving right along.
Great.
Any further questions?
Mhm.
I move to approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Northeast Generator for the amounts described on the agenda for the installation of 2 docking stations at the Parks Garage and the Vine Cottage as described by Bill. Second,
Here.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Last one I have here is for the EMS building. We have money to do some building repairs in our budget. We'd like to replace the suspended ceiling in there. It's in it's pretty bad shape, basically. It's some water damage over time just from condensation. Plus they cook in their kitchen or what have you, and it's, over 15, 20 years now, I guess, almost 20 years.
That building's now 20 years old.
15, when they built it, 2003, I think they built that. 2003.
Is it really? That seems like
Oh,
yesterday.
no, time goes by, unfortunately, it does. But it's in just bad shape, and we just like to give them a nice place. They live there 24 hours a day, a lot of crews, a lot of activity in that building, as you can imagine. So we looked at that along with some other building repairs just to clean up the inside, just give it a nice facelift. We'd painted the kitchen already for them. They had raised some funds also they put into the building prior. So this will be more or less the last phase of doing the interiors, cleaning it all up. This one, we're gonna do some bathroom work. Not part of this, but another one.
Does this include the ceiling throughout the building? So not just the kitchen, in
That's
other
the whole,
words?
throughout the whole building, cleaning the
Okay.
whole place up, new grid systems, because they're all turning like yellowy, fading, and what have you. So we just want to give it a nice clean look throughout the whole building in their dorms and the upstairs.
And is this expected to also last another 20 years? Is that, didn't realize ceilings.
I did bump it up a little bit to a little bit better grade. Ceiling, this is also a fire proofing type of a material or resistant. It's required because of wood structure. So we're upgrading that. Element too.
What budget is this coming out of?
We have money in the capital budget.
General?
General, this one here would have been, might have been under bonded. I don't recall off the top of my head. It might be, it's on the capital side.
Further questions?
None here.
I move we approve this request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Central Connecticut Acoustics Inc. for the ceiling replacement at the EMS building as described by Bill. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay,
All right, so this next item is for installation of handrails and guardrails at the train station 911 Memorial Plaza. Right now, you saw that we just finished all the sidewalk going forward. We're looking at, and they kind of stripped all the landscaping away. We're working with the Beautification League on replanting that area. They're paying for the plantings and they'll replant that area. We also redid all the lampposts in the train station proper as well. And the last thing is to refurbish the 9/11 Memorial and make it safe when it was and accessible. Right now, it's not accessible and it's not safe. So the thought being that we have to raise the grade of the patio that was included in the past project that you approved, and then install a custom made guide rail around the on the top of the wall, the stone wall that you can see in the picture, and then handrails leading down the two sets of stairs to the parking lot. We went to Vinny's Custom Iron Metal Fabricators. Used to be Steve's Custom Iron. Vinny bought it out from him. He did excellent work over at Battle Lodge that you had approved prior. And if you went out and looked at that, but we're looking to do something very similar to that. So he broke it down for us: $3,800 for handrails, $11,480 for guardrails, for a subtotal of $15,280. I added a 10% contingency just to make sure that there wasn't any tweaks that needed to happen at the time, for a total of $16,780, and the funds are currently available for the project.
so is there an accessible ramp?
There will be an accessible route from the sidewalk to the plaza. So prior to this, there was one step down, and then there were a set of stairs to the parking lot. We're going to make it so that the slope from the sidewalk to the plaza itself will be either a 1 in 12 grade, so it'll need handrails, or a 1 in 20, and it won't. So right now we're working on that last little bit. He gave us his price includes all of it just in case. And at that point in time, so the accessible route would be from the sidewalk into the plaza. It's necessary that you're coming from the sidewalk into the plaza, not necessary that you're coming from the train station up into the plaza itself. So we'd like to go forward with this project, and this will be constructed once the plaza is done. Then he'll come in, fabricate the handrails, and install them for us, and we'll get rid of this drop off that we have off of the wall itself at present.
Even though this is state property, this is our memorial.
We installed the memorial. Yeah, we installed the memorial, maintain the memorial.
Is this ADA related? Tiger?
It is, because right now it's not accessible.
Did it come up in the
No, it did
the
not.
survey?
No, it did not. But that
It's not-
doesn't mean
it's
that
not
we
our,
should.
not our property.
Well,
But anyway,
be-
it's our
be that as
memorial.
it may,
We
right, we
decided,
installed it.
we decided to
Yeah,
install it
right.
years ago, so it's our
Right.
responsibility.
20 plus years ago.
And you're saying this is going to make it ADA compliant,
yes,
whether
that's
it's
correct.
our property or
And
not
safe.
our property.
Right.
Okay.
And safe, because right now there's a over 30-inch drop off the wall.
We should have the 9/11 ceremony over there rather than at town hall. I didn't even know it was a 9/11 memorial.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, back there was when the flagpole was added, I think it changed at that point in time to a 9/11 memorial.
How many people can accommodate once you put the handrails and the
It's
guardrails?
going to expand a little bit, but you wouldn't be able to do the service that we have here in town hall.
Right.
There, it would not be possible. There's just not enough
Do
room.
we have another 9/11 memorial?
Coming up?
Well,
Yeah.
at the firehouse,
Oh, no. Do we have another
Oh.
9/11 memorial in town?
correct. You have one planned, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not talking about the ceremony. I'm talking about
Yes.
a physical
Right at the
firehouse.
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 Yeah, right.
So why don't we decommission this one and make it a garden?
We can certainly decommission. It's a nice sitting area. It's a nice area that was developed.
Did we do this or the Beautification League?
It might have been installed by the beautification
I
League
believe
back in the early 2000s.
It
I'm
was
unsure
their
of those,
project.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Want to approve this?
Yes, I do.
I move we approve this request from Public Works with Vinny's Custom Metal Fabricators for the ironwork at the 9/11 Memorial Plaza at the train station as described by Tiger. Second? No
Second. Yep, I'll second.
All in
Yeah.
favor? Aye.
Bye.
Thank you. This next item is to further a preliminary design that we had, or a sketch for a long-term solution for the situation at the the intersection of Route 106, Canoe Hill and Carter Street. We had Hardesty and Hanover come out and do a look at the area. They gave us what they consider to be a short-term solution and a long-term solution. When we met out there with the residents, the members of the police department, Hardesty and Hanover, and members from our engineering department, it was determined that it would be best for us to just go forward and do the long-term solution, which would provide us with better sight lines and safe turning lanes. So as you're coming up to Carter Canoe, you would turn, have an area of refuge, and then be able to make the turn. And if you stand out there and look at it, the majority of the people are trying to do just that. They just don't have enough room to queue up, say, coming from Carter Street to take a right-hand turn onto 106 and then an immediate left. So we went to Hardesty and Hanover and asked them for a proposal for a complete design through Connecticut DOT coordination and permitting, which is a large aspect of the project itself. So they would come back with the preliminary design that we would approve and have the DOT take a look at, then go to final design, and then help us through bidding and the bid review services. So for that, they came in with a total estimated fee of $30,000. They would be billing us on a time and material basis. I added a contingency of $3,000 only because I'm still concerned with the coordination and the permitting from the DOT. It seemed to always have an issue where it takes more time and more effort, for a total of $33,000. And the funds are currently available for the work itself.
Tiger, what's the project likely to cost?
It shouldn't be that expensive, at present, because we're only looking at bumping out the corners, utilizing the existing pavement that we have.
What's not that expensive? 200?
No, less than that. I'm looking at probably $100,000 or
I was gonna
less.
say, why don't we get the lots of money from Richmond Hill transferred over to this? It's a state road.
I could try, but the amount of, we can try.
We haven't gotten lots in over 10 years.
It is transportation oriented. I can ask them for that. Normally there's a bottom end to the lots.
But safety is one of the things
That's correct. But there's usually a bottom end to the cost as well. They don't like to see a lots of project for a nominal fee versus they like to see
So
large.
this planning is $30,000 and the project itself is 100,000?
Quite possibly, yeah. Yeah, the effort is greater than what the overall design will be, most likely.
I don't know what's more important than safety. And this is a disastrous intersection. It's always been a disaster. Thank God we're finally on top of this. Kathleen, kudos to you, for raising this. I completely agreed with you that this is an accident waiting to happen. And thank goodness we're finally on top of it.
Leon had told me that, the statistics don't justify the record, but it's worth doing.
Whatever,
It's
Kevin.
certainly.
Whatever.
Well, I've had one complaint about this in 5 years, 6 years. So, but the state doesn't regard it as unsafe. It's their road. And
Have you ever been at intersection? Have you navigated it?
a lot.
Have you seen people
Yeah.
who were for the first time come to that intersection? They don't know what the hell to do. It's like, it's a nightmare.
Please
I'm sorry.
prioritize things based upon actual.
I
experience.
trust our cops, and our cops, I think, are supportive of this. And if it costs some money to make this town safer, then let's do it.
I'm not, I'm
Well,
just
you're
saying.
talking
I'm-
about
I'm just
pulling
saying-
the money out of this thing and whatever. We need to get this done.
I'm not saying we're not going to approve this. I'm just saying, we ought to, since we get no money from the state, basically, we ought to take this opportunity to get the money for something that's a state road.
Whatever.
So.
Well, it's more than just a state road, right? Because we have Carter and we have Canoe Hill. So it's a collaborative effort. And I want to thank you, Tiger, and our chief of police, because I know you guys have been focused on this. I've really appreciated it. It's a long time coming and appreciate it. So I understand the proposal of taking that right, traveling north on Carter, I'm one who frequently has to make that right and then wait and take the left. So I think your proposal is a good one that I'm seeing. Taking the left. So I'm just noticing that is trickier, I think. And your proposals perhaps to put some signage up.
The part of that proposal is to see if they can't get some of the traffic to bleed down to the Clapper Hill area. We have received complaints from people saying that that would be too too excessive at that
Yeah.
point. As we work through the preliminary design and final design, we'll try to see, the amount of volume that would necessarily be diverted, and
Okay.
does it need to be diverted?
Right.
Or could we just forego the signage and make everyone go through the intersection itself?
I see.
It's more of like an alternate route instead of going up to Canoe and Carter and then having to take a left and then come back down and then pass exactly where you were before at Clapper
Right.
Hill. Wouldn't you just be better served? And to be honest with you, the majority of the public that already is traveling that direction is probably already taking
I
that,
do.
that cut through.
Yeah.
I do as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I can't see that it'll be, any more traffic,
increase.
but we'll take a look at that and see
Okay.
what the counts might be.
Yeah, it just makes more sense to make that left first. So
Exactly.
um,
So it's a suggestion to the motorists, but again, the majority of the motorists are already taking that left.
so it wouldn't be necessarily preventing that left on to
Wouldn't
106.
Right. We're going to look at
Okay.
that, and, and
Okay.
not say that a left turn is prohibited.
Right.
It's a question because you necessarily would then be diverting anyone, say, coming from the mounted troop would have to then
Check.
head south,
Right,
or,
right, right.
west
Right.
towards Clapper. So we don't want to prevent the left, but we want to just make a left safer.
Okay.
I'll call you back.
Okay. Right. Give us a timeline of when you expect.
Yeah, difficult to say only because the coordination and the permitting, but I would say that we would be working through this fall and winter on this design with a thought to come back in the spring.
In the spring.
Yeah, just the coordination, the permitting at some point in time, some gets a little bit difficult. But if we're ready for them in the winter, that frees up a lot of time for them in the winter. That's when
Gotcha.
they do the majority of their plan review. And I think we could get significant gains in time through that time frame.
And while there may have only been one direct complaint to the first selectman, there have been dozens that have come through New Canaan Moms and
Right.
directly
Right.
from constituents directly to me, to a number of us. So again, it's a collaborative effort and a collaborative solution. So thank you very much.
Ask Charlie Robinson, who lives on the corner there.
Yeah.
He could tell you,
Yeah.
tales, and
Mm-hmm.
incredible.
Raises its head about every month in
Every
the
month.
periphery, somewhere someone comes in with a comment or a question.
Yeah.
Either to New Canaan Moms or
Yeah.
out, from someone else directed into the department, things of that nature, or to the police department.
Yeah.
So you are correct.
Thank
So,
you. Good.
Thank you, Tiger.
You're welcome.
I move we approve this request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Hardesty and Hanover for the $33,000, which includes a contingency for the intersection of 106 and Canoe Hill and Carter Street as described by Tiger. Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. This next is not a similar situation, but a situation that has arisen at the intersection of Conrad and Whiffletree. We've been reviewing this, DPW and the PD have been reviewing this area for quite some time. We have increased volume coming through, especially when the Merritt Parkway is closed. And then we have people that Waze will tell them that if they stay on Conrad, it'll take them a minute longer, and if they stay on Gertie's, it'll take them a minute longer. So they'll shoot down Conrad, try to come up and beat the light at South and Gertie's. Subsequent to that, we have another proposal from Hardesty and Hanover to look at the South and Gertie's light, since we've asked the DOT probably 4 or 5 times to look at it, and they say that there's no problem with the timing. We're asking them to look at it independently to try to determine whether or not there's something to be done there, since the queue lengths are very, very long, which then exacerbates the problem on Conrad and Whiffletree. So we had Hardesty and Hanover come over to a preliminary look and some sketches, come up with 3 options for us. One was for some stop signs. We did put in some temporary stop signs, but we feel that that's people are rolling through those stop signs and not necessarily adhering to them. So the second one was either to do a mini roundabout, or the third was to do a large roundabout. We chose the mini one since it would fit within the existing footprint of the pavement structure itself and not be too overwhelming to the area itself. But then it would then in essence slow traffic down, make that intersection safer, make everyone adhere to the traffic measures that are there, and then necessarily keep people from just staying on Gertie's and not having to navigate the circle itself or the roundabout. So they came back for exact same thing from preliminary design all the way through design coordination and approval. That's through the police commission and others. For $20,000, I added a 10% contingency for an additional meeting or two, for a total of $22,000, and the funds are currently available. We have several residents on Conrad and Whiffletree that come to us almost daily with concerns about the traffic themselves, and this is something that they've, a measure or is something to do in this area they've been looking for quite some time.
Question?
Sounds good. No,
No, but this is the Nursery Road problem. So
Similar to it, yeah, except for the fact that Nursery is just driven by the merit. This one's almost driven by the light at Conrad and at Gertie's and South, which, since there's a subsequent side street, people think that they can shoot up and then be able to get into the queue and then take the right-hand turn onto the merit and save themselves a couple of minutes instead of staying in queue. And then what they're doing is they're just accelerating and driving through Conrad at a higher rate of speed.
this does not require going to the
No,
state.
it does not,
Yeah.
thankfully. That's why you'll see that the effort, even though in my opinion, this is a greater design effort, the effort is actually $10,000 less because of the permitting and the coordination with the DOT.
I move we approve this request from Public Works to enter into a contract with Hardesty in Hanover for $22,000 for the Conrad Road and Whiffletree Lane intersection work as described by Tiger. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This next is a request from the wastewater treatment facility to continue a consulting agreement with AECom. We've had this agreement in place for a number of years. They were instrumental in helping us tackle our zinc and phosphorus removal requirements, something that we need to continue to monitor annually to make sure that we stay within permit, that we're staying with the best techniques within that regard, and then we can report back to the DEP our findings. We're also asking them to look at other areas of proper functioning of the plant and the sewer system on an as-needed basis, basically an on-call system. So if Nick runs into an issue, he can call them and ask them for a question here or there. We typically have not spent the entire $20,000 that we've had in the capital budget annually. We average around $10,000 to $12,000 a year. I don't anticipate us needing the full funding, but we wanted to have the full funding in place should we need it. So that, again, it's the monies are available, and we'd like to continue this agreement that we have with this consulting agreement we have with AECom for help.
So is this in the consulting agreement? Is in the capital budget or?
I think it's in the capital budget. I'll have to look again and see if it's in the capital they operate. I wrote here in operating, but it might be in the capital budget, mainly because it had to deal with our zinc and phosphorus removal, and that was a very large capital expenditure. We were posing a very large capital expenditure, so I think it stayed in that area, but I'll take a look.
Okay. I would think a consulting agreement goes in operating, but
Should,
yeah,
but yeah, given the fact that it was what it was for,
Sure,
it might have been on that
yeah.
side.
Understand.
Yep.
Okay. But this is an annual amount and it doesn't change in terms of, or this is, as you say, up to 20.
Up
They
to
might-
20. We
Yeah.
spent about 10 to 12 looking back over time in
Per annum.
prior years. And then that money rolls back into the fund itself.
Okay. So it must be an operating.
Everything rolls back into the fund from the sewer
Okay.
part. But yes, I'll take a look and
Yeah.
clarify, and I'll let you know next meeting.
We approve this request from Public Works to continue a contract with AECom in the amount of up to $20,000 for consulting services as described by Tiger for the wastewater treatment facility. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This next is the gas agreement, the easement that we had for 77 Main Street. There's specific verbiage that has to be written or read into the record. He approved it last meeting, but
Right.
there was specific verbiage according to our town attorney. So if you would read this into the record and then approve it, then we could then go forward. I guess it's the best way to describe it. We have to resolve that the gas distribution, it has to be in essence resolved, further resolved, and then you vote and approve, and then we can have that as part of the overall record. This is something that Eversource themselves has specifically in their wording in there. So it's not necessarily for any of other easements that we have, but specifically for Eversource itself, they have this verbiage.
We just approved this.
I guess you can prove it as written. Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't
but
have
we
to-
just approved this.
You just
Yeah,
approved it
the
prior,
last
yeah,
meeting,
but we need
right.
this,
Allows you to
we
use
need this
magic language.
verbiage for Eversource itself.
Eversource,
Read it out.
Eversource wants magic language.
Does this, by the way, sorry, does this go to the original agreement and then this go to the Utilities Commission for any reason? Do they take a look at this?
It hasn't in the past.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
well,
we
we
can
didn't have
certainly
one,
can.
but yeah.
We, excuse me, we will be going to the Utilities Commission with an update on gas, electric,
Okay.
Eversource's portions, Aquarian's portions.
Right.
So we could speak to this. I would imagine at that point in time, they would have a couple of questions as to where we have easements and where we have mains.
Sure.
But
Okay.
in the past, it hasn't. It's mainly been a Board of Selectmen function.
Right.
Uh,
Okay, so this will go through a process with the Utilities Commission, but we will just go forward with this. So,
Mhm.
okay.
Easements are the responsibility of
Yeah,
the Board of Selectmen.
right. Yeah, and we've already voted for this. It's just the language, so.
Yeah, I move we approve this request from Public Works to use the magic language resolved at the gas distribution agreement in favor of Yankees Gas Services. Doing business as Eversource Energy with respect to the easement across town's property at 77 Main Street in a form presented in the meeting is hereby approved. And further resolved that the first selectman is hereby authorized to sign the gas distribution easement on behalf of the town. Do I have a second?
Second here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This next is a purchase of another RRFB for the mid-block crosswalk at 220 Elm Street. It was approved by the Police Commission and it was requested by, excuse me, the BOE. We had also requests from Walter Stewart's and others, as far as we have a lot of people that cross that mid-block
Mhm.
area. So we put in disabled ramp on one side, a handicap ramp on the 220 side. We looked to redo the sidewalk on the Stewart side, and at that point in time, place these RRFBs there for the safety of any residents that are passing through. We went to East Coast Sign. They've been supplying our RFBs throughout town. They've been the low bid each time. For $10,975 for the units themselves. There's 2 per location, 1 on either side of the street. $800 for the freight for a total of $11,775.
Questions?
Yeah, Tiger, just remind us, is this when someone steps up to cross, these start flashing or they're
You have to
continual?
press a button.
You have to press a
Yeah,
button.
you press a
Okay.
button. There's an audible symbol, the signal that speaks to you, and you press the button. And then it allows you to, then it flashes, and
Okay.
then you cross. Gives you about 20 seconds to cross.
Okay.
And then they stop so that they're only active at the time that somebody presses the button. Other
Okay.
than that, they sit and they notify the fact that there's a crosswalk there, since there's signage
Right.
notifying that there's a crosswalk there, but they don't activate unless someone presses the button.
Okay.
And these things, these things really work.
They have about a 92% adherence rate, after installation, meaning that after a series of time, they have about a 92% adherence rate. We are having a little bit of a problem with the one at Saks, believe it or not, that crosses by Village Drive, Fieldcrest. So we put in flags and the student is to carry the flag across the street and deposit it on the other side. There's a bucket of either side with 6 flags. You carry the flag across to make you a little bit more conspicuous and to make people.
What's the
adhere.
problem there?
People are running through it. Kids will press the button and people are still running through it because they want to get through South Avenue and then, through South and Farm and then get onward towards the Merritt or wherever else they need to go. So we've been having a little bit of a non-adherence problem there, and it's very scary.
What's PD doing about this?
That's what they brought it to our attention. We suggested this alternative or this augmentation to it, whereby, a student carries a flag, which then at that point in time makes them even more conspicuous, and hopefully the car will stop. At that point in time, if they don't, PD might have to, increase some of their enforcement in their area. I don't know what the ticket would be, but it should be hefty. If you blew through a sign that was flashing while a student was in the crosswalk, it's a scary proposition. But we installed them this summer. hopefully, they're being utilized and this problem might go away. But elsewhere in town, we've had very, very good luck with them.
We should know that, because I would think that if the fine for going through a stoplight is considerable.
Mhm. I'll ask them what the overall fine might be, but yeah, it was brought
I mean,
to our
the
attention
fine
by
for
staff.
passing a school bus is substantial. So I think if we're going to go to the trouble of having these things and they're not complied with, that especially we now have 5 of these. It's probably justifiable to have a special fine for going through these flashing lights.
This will be the 7th installation.
Mm.
We have at least one more proposed.
Mm.
How do you keep those flags from being misplaced?
Don't. Unfortunately, you hope that they don't get carried away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capture the flag.
I've seen them in use at a church in Unionville,
Mhm.
quite nicely
Mhm.
for a number of time.
Is that right?
And I haven't seen a problem with them, and I cross through there quite often, and I see people walking across for church. It's basically for church services,
Mhm.
and seems to work quite well. So we hope that the students will keep them there and not take them home.
Mhm.
But there's no guarantee.
Yeah. Thank
It was a $200 purchase. I think it was money well spent at the time to see if it would work. So we'll see how it goes at that point.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with East Coast Signs for $11,775 for the rapid rectangular flashing beacon to be installed at 220 Elm at the Board of Ed building, basically. But as described by Tiger. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Pave 223.
And then this last is an extension of our contract with New England Paving. Normally we come back to you in 2 or 3 phases. Last year we did 3 phases. This year we're on our 2nd phase for $100,000 worth of utility cut repair and various repairs of areas that are deficient. They've been doing excellent work on a time and material basis for us since 2011, and we'd like to continue this for the next phase of $100,000 worth of work with them, which hopefully will carry us close to the end of the year. They've done very, very nice work throughout town. Anywhere you see where we've had a problem, where they've come in and corrected it, never had a problem after that. No questions or comments from any resident or anyone after they've repaired an area.
Tiger, how many more roads are we going to do before the snow flies?
I have a bid that's going in the paper on Thursday for everything from Farm Road to, well, Church Street was already done. So Farm Road to Oak Street.
Maple Street?
Maple Street. I'm sorry, that's correct. So if you go further to Maple, Maple on the western side, not on the eastern side. We did Maple on the eastern side, so correct. So Maple on the western side, both sides of the street from of South Avenue, from south to Park and south to Main. Everything in that area is
So
what
all the South Avenue streets.
all the South Avenue
Right,
streets.
so
is
we're
on this.
basically doing all the 2000, year 1, 2, and 3 of the gas work for.
Correct. And then which is inclusive of then Aquarian came into Douglas, Orchard, Faraday, other
Right.
couple of areas here and there. So they came back and did all that as well. So
And what's the schedule for 106 for the gas and water? Is that going to be under construction all winter?
it'll be under construction. Well, the state will put them on a
Because their repairs are horrible. I mean, they're
it's a temporary repair, then they'll
Yeah.
come back in and do a semi-permanent and a permanent repair.
right.
They'll work until the end of the season, basically December. The state will close them at that point in time on 106. They won't be able to work
Mm.
through the winter time. Their permit only allows work during the spring, summer, and fall. And then we're hoping that they'll be close to done, if not done, but it might be that they'll have to extend the phase to next year. And then the last piece we have is on South Avenue from Harrison to Farm Road,
Mm.
which is a little
When will that be?
problematic.
When will that be?
They're looking at a 2024, 2025. We would like it to be, right now, we're in preliminary discussions, but we'd like to see them do it in the summer of 24 and the summer of 25, not necessarily during the
Mm.
school year, since
Wow.
they'll be sitting in traffic, working in traffic the entire time.
Mm.
So we're talking to them about the fact that it'd probably be in their best interest just to do it during the summer and finish in the following summer. Project's already behind schedule as it were. So just due to permitting and the overall difficulty of construction. So they've got a little bit of work left to do in the area of Little Brook, Clapper and 106, and then they're heading eastward at that point in time towards Carter and Canoe, and then head out from there. So to get to Valley.
I move we approve the request from Public Works to enter into a contract with New England Paving for $100,000 for the pavement management improvement program as described by Tiger. Second.
Second here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
Tiger.
much.
That was a mouthful. Cheryl, good morning.
Good morning. I am here to present Sharon Winter. She has been with the town since 6/1/21, part-time in the town clerk's office. When we posted the position, we did receive 39 applicants. Sharon has been a part-time worker, as I said, in the town clerk's office for 2 years. She has assisted with dog licensing, greeting the public, filing, and learning from other staff. This is a new position that was approved in last year's budget, and I believe Sharon would be a great addition to the town clerk's office on a full-time basis.
Any questions?
Is this a union position?
It will be a union position.
It will.
Correct.
Okay. So all of the applicants came from,
No, because this originally was a part-time position, we did post it first because it will be a union position within the union. We had no applicants, so then we posted outside.
thank you.
No further questions. I move we approve this request from Human Resources Director to hire Sharon Winter as a full-time administrative assistant to the town clerk. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Appointments, Todd and John. So this replacement is something that, the Fields Committee has been in existence for 20 some odd years. We initially decided to appoint Tiger, but the reality is the intention of the Fields Committee is that a representative for who is in touch with the fields, as opposed to someone elevated to Public Works, should be on that committee. And Todd is the park superintendent and doing a fabulous job. So we thought we would take this opportunity to replace Tiger with Todd, and I've therefore moved. We can talk about at a future meeting whether we're going to do anything further with, but I think there's been discussions about that already that kind of resolve that issue perhaps. But so I moved, we approved this appointment of Todd Declan to the Fields Committee, replacing Tiger. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I abstained on principle.
Okay. I just have one question, Tiger. What are you going to do with all your free time?
Okay, holidays.
All those in favor?
I thought we voted.
No, we didn't. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I have a question about holidays. Are these the union contract holidays? I'm a little confused why we're. Are these all now that Juneteenth is in the union?
Holidays that we have had every year.
Except for the addition of Juneteenth, which is only our second year,
Correct, which we did have this year.
but this is the same list from.
But they're all, these are all in the collective bargaining agreements, so there's
Yes,
something we
yes.
can't change
Right.
because they're.
Well, we could change, I mean, this is for the more of the town hall. But most of these holidays are within all your contracts and these have
Yeah,
been the same.
so that's why I'm a
holidays.
little confused why we're even approving them. They're on the calendar as how,
It's something you've approved every year.
okay.
This meeting.
I was somehow thinking that Veterans Day was a holiday, but no,
Mm-mm.
we don't.
It
Okay.
used to be.
Okay.
And that had been switched with the day after Thanksgiving, and that was probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And our holidays are not the same as the Board of Ed.
No. They never have been.
So all federal holidays are reflected here.
Correct.
I mean, why is Columbus Day a holiday? Because it's in the contract.
Yes, I mean, if we want to start looking at holidays, we could do that through negotiations.
Okay. That's why we're approving holidays. I move we approve the holidays on the on the on the tablets.
Second.
For 2024. Further discussion?
No.
Second. All in favor, aye. Contracts? Any questions about the contracts? Overpayments of taxes, there's a bunch of automobile. I move we approve the refunds for tax overpayments. I think it's refunds for the tax on our tablets. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Selectmen's comments. I really don't have, as I noted earlier, it was a great loss to lose Don Hersham. What a terrific gentleman, and his funeral will be on Thursday at St. Aloysius. And what else did I want to say? I'm not sure.
Any update on the Gulf Station?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too.
Well, I don't want to talk about that publicly. That's a real estate transaction.
Okay, perhaps we can get an update in executive session for 2 weeks from now.
Yes, there'll be developments by then.
Right. So just on the calendar then so we've got a couple of things that we want to do next in 2 weeks. So that'd be great. I don't have any other further comments, but I just want to thank everybody for all of their efforts, certainly throughout the summer. And as we head into the fall here, I also want to add to our thoughts about Don Hersham. He was an opponent of mine 12 years ago, I guess, when I ran for town treasurer, and never was there a finer gentleman to work with and against on a campaign. And we've remained friends for many years afterwards. So I'll miss him.
What more can you say about Don Hersham? What a fantastic individual, delightful class act, cared about New Canaan deeply. I mean, that was his number one thing, was the town of New Canaan, and God bless him. He will be missed. Thank you, Kevin, for that mentioning the Gulf. Maybe we can talk about that in 2 weeks. I'm just going to say, Tiger, thank you for everything you've done. But it occurs to me, I'm looking at our commissions, and I'm looking at the number of things on your plate today. I'm assuming there's 128 other things that you haven't brought to our attention, and this should be probably directed to town council. We have commissions: charter revision, conservation, EMS, fire, HHS, historic district, housing authority, inland wetlands, parks and rec, parking, P&Z, police, utilities. Query whether at some point it would make sense to have a public works commission. And I would just put that out there, something, because I think that would help you. And you guys are overworked as it is. You've got so many things going on in this town. And God bless you and Joe and Bill and the whole team. But I'm wondering if in the future, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a public works commission. We have utilities, which, Kath, we finally got through, and P&Z and all these other things. I think that would be a big help. So I'm just going to put that out.
Anything further?
No, just one last thing, just if there are any outstanding items, we've got 4 more meetings left of the Board of Selectmen. So, if there's anything that needs to be resolved before we hand the baton over, just let us know. I know we've talked about the employee agreement and so forth. So any sort of little ticks and ties that we need to do, just let us know. We're happy to get through that.
3 batons. That's actually 3 batons.
3 batons,
right?
yes.
Probably for the first time in a long time.
Right.
Okay, I move we adjourn at 10:19.
Second here.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I don't, yeah, just gonna give you a hard copy. Sorry.